Sup YouTube, I'm AG64 with a new challenge suggested by YouTube user Nathan Berry this time. This challenge is a move bending run with some very simple rules. 1. You're only allowed to use healing moves during battle. B. No hyper sprinkles nor shield sprinkles. Simple, right? Well, it is. Now I decided to do this vid a little differently than other challenge run vids I've done in the past. No more just hardest bosses collage, but still just the hardest bosses collage with voice. So be sure to hit like and subscribe, as well as share this video or channel to those you love. And with that being said, let's go! Also follow me on Instagram. Okay, let's address the elephant in the room up first. But AGM, what about the LA and offensive moves? Well, you know how we started modding the game? Yeah. Well, nowadays most times I mod something drastic like enemies or jobs, I corrupt the game. No idea how. I can still alter skills, and more importantly, ally AI. You know what I did. I stupefied the AI to only use non-banned moves, and Proud Protector, which I then unbanned for being a lazy wreck. So all allies only used recovery moves and any passive actions, passive skills, assists, and quirks. So to all of you Karens who don't want passive actions as well, can go twerking around somewhere else. Let's start the run with the usual old me, then progress till the Dark Lord commits actual kidnapping, you know, as one does. Then I can finally pick my first of 3 jobs. For Greenhorne I picked Warrior, since warriors are just reliable physical attackers, and with the AI changes they always slap away status problems when given an opportunity. So I did it. Then for the allies, G-Sword the energetic warrior, Zakaria the cool cleric, and Wilnot the cautious pop star. Hey, at least say thanks you are a male pop star. For now, I won't talk much about G-Sword, since he had the same purpose as me in Greenhorne, in addition to having a job switch later. Meanwhile, Zakaria and Wilnot, while not that specific, had some important roles on the team. Well, Zakaria is self-explanatory, a cool cleric, an evasive cleric, come on, it's too reliable to pass up on. And Wilnot, while seeming useless with the lack of utility moves, Popstar's bulk with warm-up makes for quite a tanky attacker with some support options like cheer on. Well, I blazed through Greenhorne in a heartbeat. It wasn't that hard, probably due to the double warriors on the team carrying me all the way to the end. So let's move on. But after Greenhorne, Nextdoor happens, and I need to talk about all the teammates up first, since Nextdoor is quite kind with providing new jobs. I myself picked Cat, self-explanatory really, good physical damage. However, the string of the team relies on hyper offense with another one of the allies, Nathan Berry the airheaded scientist. Yes, he wanted to be a chef, but I gave him a very different, though still very useful support role that lies within Scientist's passive skill set. Ignite is awesome for dealing damage and targeting multiple enemies, which also works with some of the best physical attackers around, so all the better. Absorbs create a draining move out of an attack, and probably the best draining move at that. Finally, Safety Mask is amazing for block percent, the chance to block status. Within the AI modifications, there's a 50% chance to use Absorb, 50% chance to use Ignite, and a guaranteed Safety Mask, which makes Berry an incredible supporting ally. And there's Miitopia, a standard cautious warrior, but with Berry it's much better. The damage output is crazy. And finally Turles. I realized that I actually need a healer, so I gave him Cleric, though I always planned on swapping the job of this energetic me later on. Regardless, Nextdoor actually had some troublesome fights, pretty much exclusively the paintings in Mountain and Mona Lisa. They were both hard for similar reasons, high damage output and their passive skills. Earthquake and Scorching Breath respectively did a good chunk of damage to my team, and their passives, woo! That bloody passive! A passive that allows the paintings to hit a me instead of being hurt by a basic attack, which is hard for the sole reason of I have to use a basic attack in order to deal damage of any sort. So taking damage instead of attacking, not to mention the hit you take is pretty heavy, is very annoying. And these bosses can turn the tide of a whole fight like this. These bosses also have some signature bullshit that you have to suffer through. The mountain boss features some very scary minions and cobras, able to deal loads of damage with their high magic stat. Then the Mona Lisa has a guaranteed queller right before, which harms the fight and turns it against you. Distracted especially, since you take way more damage because of it. The safe spot is key here, since Scorching Breath and Earthquake blow, and healing is pretty useful. Plus removing the jealous status from corals is nice. Anyways, now that this hellscape is over, we can finally move on to Realm of the Fae. But first, let's introduce the new allies. To start off the team, I picked Tank, and I stayed with it as my ace job for the rest of the playthrough. 100% defense and damage output are the name of the game with Tank in this run, which kinda meant I only slightly never died. Yeah, the levels to which I could take hits were very high. Not to mention the protagonist was always over-leveled, so yeah, I was quite the tank. And quite literally, the tank. But then you might say, what about Wilnot after rescuing him in Karkaton Ascent? Well, Popstar damages all enemies with its basic attack, whereas Tank can't, in addition to having support options, and I was not outclassing him whatsoever. Then for the allies, Killerfire the Cautious Chef, Tigerheart the Energetic Flower, and Norberto the Energetic Cat. Norberto has a purpose that I already talked about. Since I was a cat in Nextdoor but wasn't planning to use it again when I could, I got Norberto to be the cat for me. Tigerheart was also simple, a bulky healer, but still very useful. It's always great when your healer can take hits, and this one is no exception. Plus with the AI changes, flowers are actually smarter healers, so yeah, they good. That's the same niche that Killer has, just trading revives for offensive potential and being very effective with Berry due to the eligibility with Ignite, and thus sometimes even being more useful than Miitopia, despite the lower damage output. With that team, Realm of the Fae ended up being surprisingly easy to beat, most notably at the beginning with the youngest Fab Fairy's unbanned Dancing Arrow, which let me rip through hordes of enemies relatively quickly. Also, oops, I made Guard Arrow guaranteed to activate, so the Owl boss was comical in its ease. Although I'm not sure whether that percentage applies to the Metal Fab Fairy, but I'll say it is, since I never got hit during the entire battle. So it's safe to say it applies, because otherwise I got unbelievably lucky. So yeah, I did not struggle too much. While there were sometimes bosses that challenged me, I just went ahead and did another boss that did not challenge me, then came back stronger to beat it no problems. The only real issue was the spider at the beginning for its very high damage output, but it's not that hard, so we can just move on. Hey you! Yeah, you like abduction, right? Oh boy, do I have a treat for you, and that is Karkaton, where an imp with gene manipulation powers steals your friends and now you must rescue them. Exciting, right? I don't know why I was so excited during that previous line, but I do know that here stuff picks up steam and fast. The Pain Cloud and obviously the Magma Slime were easy enough, but when I had to rescue turtles from the burning golem, I did face some issues, weirdly enough. Despite having Wilnot and being a tank myself, the golem hit real hard, and Norberto couldn't withstand much at all, but it wasn't that hard. Cerberus was a similar story to the burning golem, but now Turles is around and the boss is much bulkier. Not a complete hassle, just like the burning golem, but still annoying to beat. And yes, as you would have imagined, I did not use Hyper Sprinkles during the fight for very obvious reasons. Oop-ta-doop-ta-doop-ta-doop, they were banned. But then I arrived in the Dark Lord's castle. Stuff became truly hard. The demon and the study of the Dark Lord were decently hard in their own right, with one harassing me at the start of the battle, while the other almost turned the tide of the battle completely, harassing me at the end. The demon hit hard and had naughty aim switch attack twice, status you with evil, and also hit hard. Meanwhile, the study of the Dark Lord is a painting, so we already know why that's annoying to deal with. In addition to that, the boulders split my team in horrible ways, as the team that won against the demon could not do much damage for being too bulky or supportive. Yeah, Turtles, Tigerheart, and Wilnot, who is more of a defense team. While the team that won against the study of the Dark Lord was hopelessly frail besides Miitopia. It's not even the worst split. At least my demon team could usually hit whole enemies, and after saving Barry from said demon, he helped a lot against the side of the Dark Lord, despite being a pain to get him to that side without mixing up the rest of the party. Then after beating the armor, which wasn't hard at all, I got G-Swar back, and with Miitopia now existing, I did my first of 2 job changes in the game, excluding the mandatory ones between worlds. G-Swar's personality was changed from energetic to cool, and his job from warrior to thief. And no, this isn't a phase, Mom, but rather something strategic. 50% dodge chance from backflip, 30% dodge chance from avoid, and all targeting basic attacks make up a fast and strong annoyance that can dodge most attacks with ease. Anyways, now we move on to Dominic, and this was hard. Dominic is a bulky and strong attacker, with threatening all targeting basic attacks and a scary status in Scared to stall out turns and dish out some major damage. I picked up a trusty combo of bulk with Miitopia and Tiger Art alongside the trusty Barry for even more damage output from Miitopia despite his frailty. The team was as planned. Take damage, deal damage. So in that regard they worked. But that's not to say this fight was easy or anything. Oh dear god, no. I always had to safe spot somebody, especially bad when I had to sack off a bulkier teammate, as Barry got 2-hit KO'd. As a result of all the safe spotting, I couldn't even dish out that much damage against Dominic. I had to safe spot constantly and hope that Tiger Art heals the right person. So I had to wait cautiously till the right moment to strike. But then there's the Dark Lord. First phase was pretty miserable. The Dark Lord, like everyone else, hits quite hard, and unlike others, has the Nightmare status to annoy you even further. Obviously, of course, every single time that's the case, safe spotting was extremely good, and having G-Swar was so valuable in order for him to dodge attacks and survive for longer. Thankfully, the second phase was much easier. The Dark Lord steals faces, so just safe spot yourself and get ready to blast the Dark Lord, since he isn't going to attack anytime soon. In my case, I ended up with G-Swar being the other non-discombobulated person, which was a little less than useful since he killed the imps, and that meant the Dark Lord started attacking again and almost killed my team, until he threw the game after killing 2 Miis and leaving me as the only functioning Mii, with G-Swar being discombobulated. And as such, I could just, win. And now that this is done for, we can look at the thankfully much easier main of the run. And none of the bosses in Traveler's Hub ended up being any issue whatsoever, with the closest being the Hamburger in Peculia, and most surprising being the Wolf-O-Wisp from the same world. Honestly, that fight against the Wolf-O-Wisp was very bizarre. Both sides were easily able to stall out each other, but at the same time also deal some good damage. I was mostly on top, and this was just weird, not hard, so let's move on. Also, yeah, I probably have to talk about the robot fight in Nimbus, since this is where I get the shield sprinkles, and that boss is pretty much designed for them. But the fight as a whole ended up being pretty much extremely easy, with me as well as my new vampire Turtles easily tanking the hits from the lasers. So with smart safe spotting, I won pretty easily. Oh yeah, right, I did say I'll job swap Turtles. So yeah, he's my new vampire now. A bulky attacker with a lengthy list of passive utility and an all-targeting basic attack. So really, what more could you ask for? Simple but effective. Anyways, after crushing the side quest bosses, I did get vampires, so why not? I moved on to the Skyscraper, and a boss that I've been dreading ever since the Dark Lord happened. The Phantom of Evil. And for a good reason. Let's be real, the first phase of the Dark Lord was very hard, so now extend that to an entire battle, and you can see why I was scared. But here comes the big however. The Phantom of Evil ended up being surprisingly easy to beat, and I have no clue why. Perhaps the Phantom of Evil was dumber, or I was stronger in comparison to how strong I was against the Dark Lord, or it's because of Barry and Killer being good teammates to have and I was just an idiot. I don't know why, but this was easy to beat. But oh boy, you thought that Boulder split my team in Karkaton in bad ways? Just check it now, it's complete garbage! all of the attackers ended up going against the gold general, so I couldn't heal without sprinkles, and as such, this was the hardest gold general fight I had in my life. Although, let's be real, this doesn't mean it was actually hard by any means. Far from it, so we can move on. And here's the tricky part. All of the supporters, and will not, ended up going against the Pharaoh 2. And while the boss wasn't actually that troublesome, the normal enemies on the path, which I always considered to be some of the hardest teams to deal with, now gave me loads of trap pool, with most of my team being either frail, unable to do much damage, or both. And yeah, that was a recipe for disaster. Literally, my only saving grace was the ever-reliable combo of Killer with Berry, which did well when possible, with Zakaria also dabbling in the fun. So, indeed, I struggled. The combo of 2 Hobgoblin Bullies and 2 Wizened Owls was always annoying, so it's somewhat obvious. But regardless, speed wars, taking loads of damage, needing to save spot often, yeah, this was not attractive. Honestly, this was a stressful fight, with all the defense drops and the Hobgoblin's brutal all-targeting attack, and I had to tiptoe around them with the save spot and sprinkles in order to deal damage and not take damage myself. But I did it eventually. However, this is not the only challenge here. Oh, damn no! While Pharaoh 2 was simple enough, the Red Frog ended up being a challenge. Now that has an obvious reasoning. The bulkier and comparatively stronger tadpoles that add on to the frog's terrifically dirty damage output. What I needed to do was just have turtles as well as Berry and Killer for support, then kill the tadpoles right before the big boy froggo. So the usual safe spawning is here, and turtles ended up being very useful in order to hit all enemies and do some curse recoil damage to the tadpoles. Since turtles always deals the best damage to the enemies on the far right side of the teams, the rest of the team focused on the tadpole to the left, occasionally also damaging the red frog with the ignite spread property. After I was done with the tadpoles, beating the red frog was not an issue at all. But this is not the end. The trio of roaches! Yeah, you know why this is hard, let's just move on. And finally is the final boss. The left and right hand were done easily without much trouble. Pretty much like how I always do though. But here comes the bigger however. The body of the Darker Lord. High damage output, minions with cover, a bunch of annoying factors to make this fight a big and hard final finale. In particular, our lack of damage output and also the lack of shield sprinkles, which made the fight extra volatile. In addition, there is a scary second phase, and obviously we need to tackle the issue with the Darker Lord's Big Bang. Here, I recommend safe spotting the me in the party that has the highest HP stat of them all, or at least your bulkiest party member. I usually safe spot it myself, since typically my me refuses to die from attacks. So with an undying expression, he took hits for the rest of the team quite well. Also, side note, please make sure the me you safe spot has either sacrificed with all other me's or a kind personality for cover, otherwise a me will die guaranteed. Although in my case, I have no idea how I second tried this fight. On the first attempt, I got squished like a fly, but on the second attempt, I had an incredibly frail team with Zakaria and Berry, but regardless, I still did it. Anyways, well, that's it. And thank you guys for helping me achieve the goal of hitting 400 subscribers. I mean, I needed to mention that in any video, so yeah.